I mentioned, we are going to talk about email marketing for hotels. Why? Because everyone is talking about it, and everyone wants to understand how to do better email marketing, especially in the hospitality industry, that sometimes the messaging can be confusing, what tools to use can be confusing. So in behalf of Book Boost, we are a hospitality engagement platform. Basically, we help hotels around the world to use their guest data to personalize their communications, to build a better guest experience. And we organize these monthly webinars to share with our community about what tools they can use, what tips, what hacks they can use to be better at building their guest experience. So today I'm joined for this webinar. I'm with Maria from Go Visible Online. She's a hospitality and tech copywriter. From Adam, also with Adam from Hotel Mogul Consulting, and with Isabel, which is our customer success manager at BookBoost. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
No, exciting everything that we're gonna talk. So thank you for joining us. And let's kick in the conversation. And before we start, we want to know a little bit about who's listening. For the ones that are watching live, for the ones that are watching the recording, sadly, you won't be able to participate in the poll. But at least for the ones that are live with us today, we want to know a little bit about you regarding what are your challenges on email marketing today. So please answer the poll quickly. Let's take 20 seconds, 30 seconds to answer this poll. What is your main challenge when doing email marketing? I don't have a tool to do it. I don't know how to personalize the emails. My guests don't open my emails, or I just don't understand much about email marketing. So let's see how is the situation. I think not having a tool and guests not opening emails are the most popular options right now. So let's talk today about how to overcome this. Let's give 5 more seconds and then we close it. Okay, yes, I don't have a tool to do it and my guests don't open my emails. Those are the two main answers. So let's get into it. Then how do we do that for your guests to open their emails, and how can we advise you on how to use a tool? Let's jump into our questions. So Maria, let's start with you. You basically are an expert in all of this. So if we talk a little bit about the mistakes that most hoteliers are doing in this specific matter, what would you say are these?
The two main mistakes, I mean, there are a lot, unfortunately, but the two main mistakes I've divided, the main mistakes I divided in two, because they are like the most basic ones. The first one is the font size and type, which is like basically very easy to fix. But unfortunately, if you don't have the right size and the right type of font, people are not going to read it. So, and this is very important. And it sounds like, oh no, this never happens. Trust me, 2 hours ago, I was checking on my emails just to show my husband that I was right. And he could see, oh my God, it's true. Like, not everyone can read it because it's so small, especially on a font, that some people just don't bother to read it. So choose the right font and size, the right size for the font and the right type. So that's the first one. Even if you spend a lot of time and resources to create fantastic emails, if it doesn't have the right size and type, nobody's going to read it. So it's worthless, unfortunately. And this is very easy to fix. Get into your CRM or whatever tool you use and fix it in just a matter of seconds. Send an email to your phone and then check it. As simple as that, you see? So one easy one. The other one is not that easy one, but unfortunately, most hotels make this mistake, and it's a lack of personalization. So I receive tons of emails, especially the welcome email, which is so generic that I know that it's not for me, it's for everyone. And it's not that difficult. Use the data you already have. to create segmentation and to craft a message just for that segment. If you know that I'm coming with my family, then let me think that you know that, and that you are offering me information about your hotel related to my family. For example, about your kids club. That could be a good example. But don't tell me all the list of facilities and everything you have when you know that I'm coming with with my family, and I don't really going to use your, I don't know, your meeting room, because doesn't doesn't add up. So things like that. It's not really difficult, but it's something that you need to work on. So
Perfect. Yes.
basically, it's font size and type and segment, and then personalization thanks to segmentation.
And it's very straightforward. I think maybe a lot of time we think about like the more complicated stuff, right? But then when you talk about fonts, that's something super straightforward. Like it's super easy to fix as well. Like, of course, if you're sending an email with too small fonts or like even too big that doesn't fit well and so on, today we need to think mobile first, right? So everyone is also using emails on their phone. So we need to make sure that it's available for both channels. That's great, Maria. And you also jump in a little bit into personalization. So I think that's awesome because we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And one of the questions was, I don't know how to personalize the emails, one of the answers to the poll. So a lot of people want to know about that as well. Okay, let's continue the conversation. And Adam, thank you for joining us today. You work with several hotels. So what would you say are their main challenges or their main complaints regarding email marketing?
Well, it's always the same complaints. People aren't opening the emails, or marketing team is too stressed out and there's not enough resources to do the level of personalization. And I agree with things related to the UI, user interface, in terms of font size and structuring the emails, making them easy to load, stylizing the CSS to make sure it's mobile friendly. But a lot of times there aren't even the IT resources to see that happen and to test it and to really do the QA necessary to get that happening. So looking at a strategic level, working with owners, it would be all about the budget and assigning the budget in the right place. That way the resources are getting to where they need to be. But I want to take a step back and point out something that's a very big trend going forward. And this is something that is going to be with us for the next 20 years of our lives. That is digital noise. There is too much stuff gunning for our attention. Text messages, WhatsApp, social media, email, webinars, everything like that. I am a digital minimalist, so I personally, to help myself focus and be as productive as possible, I unsubscribe from every single email list around. That is me. There are other people on the other spectrum who I've seen them and their Gmail inboxes are 30,000 emails deep.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, your email is getting lost in the noise. And a lot of times, because everyone else is sending off these newsletters, if an email is coming in and it feels like a newsletter, like it's typeset in any way, it feels unpersonal in any way, the mind just tunes out. And you're not getting email that's just, people are, okay, I had a call right now at 2 p.m. Central European time. Call's done. Deep breath, check my phone, check my email, and I'm in inbox delete mode. Just swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Anything that doesn't look important directed directly to me or isn't easy to answer, automatically going to the delete, to the trash bin.
Mm-hmm.
So I've often told clients, particularly the luxury end, if you want to get somebody's attention, send a 1-sentence email. 1 sentence, direct, one-to-one, no email marketing, one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from the concierge saying, hey, you mentioned when you were last here, you told me directly that this is something you're interested in. This is happening again in 6 months. Can I book you in for a 3-night stay? You'll get an answer right away that is yes. And then you go straight to billing. And that is where we're headed. That level of personalization can only really be done at the luxury level, where you have trained professionals who can do this, cleft door trained concierge, full res teams, and they're able to cross-check systems to really know their guests. Where we're headed is with a CDP, a customer data platform, connecting into a CRM that can then track this and then send out, or at least advise marketing managers on proper marketing email flows that then can do the hyper segmentation, as Maria said. And that's where it really is a early bird gets the worm, because the first brands that put in the effort to do this are going to realize huge gains from their email campaigns. Like a normal opening rate might be, or a normal, click-through rate might be 2 to 4% conversion. An open rate might be 20 to 30. You could get that. You could double that within a year. You could realize huge gains. So there's my intro, and it's a challenge, but really contending with digital noise is something that every single person is going to be challenged with over the next 20 years.
Definitely. And I think that's, I mean, it's the reality, because if you think about it, we're not talking about like in one city, you're going to find one hotel, you're going to find hundreds, thousands of hotels sending the exact same information to each person. So of course you choose on what to focus on, what not. Even if you are a person that likes to subscribe to emails and so on, you are not going to pay attention to everything. And if you're a person that tries to cut as much as you can, even worse, like the attention span that you're going to dedicate to emails is going to be even smaller, right? Great to keep in mind this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how to fight in this digital noise, how to find the right balance when creating your email marketing or communications plan as well. Isabel, you actually talk to customers as well every day, basically. So you hear from them talking about email marketing and what is going on with them. So do you have any points that you would like to add to what Adam mentioned about their main complaints or their main challenges?
Yeah, very good point, Adam. I don't think a lot of hoteliers actually think about it, and especially if we talk about the luxury segment. Probably linked to what you said in terms of training and having the teams to actually have the knowledge to do this, is most of the hoteliers don't really know how to measure ROI. And then it's just like sending email marketing campaigns, but then don't really knowing what was the goal and what do I want to do with what I'm sending and with the results that I get from it. And then together with this, all the other metrics like unsubscribe, spam, complaints, do you actually see those metrics to see where you could improve? Those two, I think, are common ones that I see. We have had customers where had a lot of unsubscribe, and they would keep sending the same exactly email marketing campaign. You really have to know, okay, you really have to look at the numbers and say, this is not working. I think another challenge that is coming, and it is connected with the lack of knowledge about email per se, because there's so much about it, is all of these new guidelines from Google, the DMARC, and all of these domain settings. These affect your delivery. And we have seen that a lot of customers, thank God, are tackling this. And it is important because you can control the content, the personalization, but if you don't have your domain in a very high score, then that will affect your results no matter what you do, if you do everything right.
Yes. So there are a few more things to pay attention as well. And that's why it can feel very overwhelming, I would say, especially for small properties. You could feel like, okay, I need to take care of everything. How can I do that, right? How can I be personal, but at the same time, prepare guest journeys and don't miss a touch point and then don't send too much. Of course, it gets overwhelming for everyone. But that's what we are trying to do today, just try to make the information a little bit easier. Now let's talk a little bit about what can we do to craft messages that actually resonate with our guests and also to increase our open rates. So hoteliers normally say, guests don't open my emails. Yes, we already said that a bunch of times, or they don't click on my emails. So Maria, is there any strategies or best practices that you would recommend when you're about to craft the message? You already mentioned about personalization and segmentation, right? Are there any other like quick wins that they can leverage?
Yeah, what I tell my customers always is that the best practice is to use details. You know, the more detail the information you give have, the better, because details are the ones that they caught our attention. So a good practice is to include, first of all, exclusive offers. I know that hoteliers always talk about this, that yeah, we have to give some offers, we have to give some reductions, some discounts, because otherwise people, well, they have other options, so on. Okay, but make it like really exclusive so that I know that it's just for me, that I have a family. So don't say things like 20% discount for summertime. This is too generic. And the other thing is that giving relevant information. So I created an example just to explain this. So let's say you say, enjoy an extra 10% discount at our spa during the July festival. We know you're coming. Here is how. I mean, it's very long, but it could be chopped into two sentences. But what I'm trying to say is that here you have two focus. One is a discount, an extra 10% discount, and the other one is a July festival. If I receive this email, I know that it's something I'm interested in because I'm going to the July festival. So you're telling me you're giving me an extra 10 discount. Okay, what should I do to get this extra 10% discount? And in the body, then I can tell you, okay, so sign up for our loyalty club. I give you 10 plus another 10, you get 20% discount. And we know, because we understand that you're coming from a festival, you're going to be tired. So take advantage of it. It's very strategic, as I say, because it has to be strategic. It cannot be just one email for everyone. So what I'm trying to say is that the best practice is to be strategic. First, with exclusive offers for a segment, and the second one is to give relevant information. Let's say this example, July festival, give me information about the July festival. Information that makes me feel special, that I know you're thinking about me. So things like that, because otherwise generic emails, they never work, to be honest, or very little.
You
You're
are
on mute.
mute.
Oh, so sorry. It always happens, right? To one person in every webinar. But okay. So thank you for the recommendations, Maria. And I was adding, what about the subject? Because I think that's also one of the areas where everyone struggles, because it's such a little space, like such a small space to be successful. So how to choose a good subject for your email? Any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, for that, I always use numbers. We love numbers. They always catch our attention. Numbers are incredible, and name. For example, don't tell me you're close to the beach. Tell me you are 5 meters, 500 meters from the beach. And then I can automatically understand I don't need a car. Because if you say close to the beach, what does it close mean? Close could be 500 meters and 5 kilometers, because if I have a car, 5 kilometers is good enough. But if I don't have a car, 5 kilometers could be really hard.
Yeah.
So exactly, numbers and names. I have a good example of someone who tried to say, we are in the middle of the jungle, so we have a fantastic property. Okay, fine. Why don't you say that the monkeys, tiki come every morning to your property? The monkeys, tiki, I've never heard of that. So you want to click, you want to know what these monkeys are. So these names, these particular names, and the numbers are always very good to use on especially on subject.
To trigger curiosity.
Yes,
Love
exactly,
it.
both of them.
Really
But they
fun.
have to be right. I mean, don't lie and don't exaggerate. So that's very important. Don't over exaggerate. Don't. It has to be. I mean, for
Mhm.
sure.
Exactly. It has to be true overall.
True,
I
and
would
you
say.
know, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And now we're entering a little bit into personalization. Actually, that was one of the things we wanted to discuss. And this is exactly what people actually answer to the poll as well, that a lot of properties say they don't personalize at all, especially if they are multi-properties, if there's more than one hotel, because it is complicated. But as Adam mentioned, and as Maria mentioned, the more you personalize, you have if you do personalization right, you have a higher chance of being noticed. So, Isabel, you talk to our customers every day. How is technology solving this challenge for them? How is BookBoost solving this challenge for them?
Yeah. Little by little, step by step. Don't try to do everything at the same time. And I think that's why people get overwhelmed, right? So first, it's technology. You need the right technology. It makes everyone's life easier. But one, you need to know which technology is the right for you. Second, you have to use it. It's just technology itself is not enough. Then specifically on this topic, have one CRM that centralizes guest data, that allows you to segment and target your audience, that allows you to create dynamic content, right? So instead of creating 3 or 4 campaigns, templates, you can actually create one with dynamic content and automate the workflow. Because at the end of the day, what takes most of the hotel's resources is the time that you have to be thinking, okay, when to send this, to whom, every single week or every single day, which we had a few customers before using BookBoost to send every single day WhatsApp message, email campaigns manually. That's just crazy. And then iterate. Again, don't forget A/B testing. For instance, at BookBoost, we can easily provide guest data and behavior from different data points, right? There's so much data out there that it's so difficult to grab and have in one place, but we do have that. And that it's the first step for you to save time, to don't get overwhelmed, and to actually start personalizing. And then it comes the way of using these data to personalize. Is the tool that you are using easy to create these email templates? Because sometimes you just struggle only building it, and then you are already giving up in that stage. So it needs to be easy to create. It needs to be easy for you to personalize, to link your audience and to think, okay, I want to send it at this specific time. So I don't have to think about it anymore. I will check it out, analyze it in a few weeks. And then it will reduce your manual effort. And this can be replicated so easily to other properties, obviously, always having in mind what are the services you offer. What is the type of hotel? Even if it's a group, you have different cities, different place, different service. Always having that in mind, but the first challenge is to create the first one. So, and sometimes hoteliers come and it's like, okay, I have 10 hotels. How am I going to build all of these for 10? Start with one, and then it's going to get easier. I promise.
Yes, I think it's very true what you mentioned, that of course it's overwhelming if you think about it, like, okay, and I have 10 properties, and then how I build 100. But there are these tweaks, these little things that you can do. It's like you mentioned already, one, dynamic content, super easy to apply these, and then you put your effort into one, and with all the changes, it will help you to replicate it in other properties and still keeping it relevant. Really good. Thank you for sharing. And now we continue on this topic, but now let's take a look at what happens with OTAs, because OTAs are also competing for the attention of the guest, especially on the first touch points. And then, Adam, we hear that sometimes some people go for let OTAs, some hoteliers, they opt for let OTAs take over completely. So not sending, not even a booking confirmation, a thank you for booking, nothing. So what would you say are the pros and cons of this approach? Are there more risks than benefits on letting the OTAs take over everything, or it just shouldn't happen? What are your thoughts on this?
It depends on the type of hotel. A lot of hotels are 3-star heads and beds operation, 2-3-star heads and beds operation. They need the OTAs because most of the time they're only getting trial, people coming in the first time with very little chances of returning. So they need the distribution. That said, OTA guests are not your guests, and they're likely taking 15 to 20 or even 25% off of your gross rooms revenue. So that will affect your net revenues, and then your ability to do things below that line in terms of putting more staff or creating new experiences, because you just don't have the margins. So it depends on the hotel. I work in luxury, and you don't want OTAs. OTA bookings, it's there for visibility on Google, and increasingly we're seeing a positive shift towards meta search. And there are some brilliant marketers who are doing great things with programmatic and search and meta to help offshift that and to reduce net revenues. But the philosophy that I contend with is very similar to, I forget, he was the actual former CEO of Booking or Expedia. I don't quote me directly, but he said the whole point of the OTAs is to get first-time bookings. And then if you can't renew someone and make them loyal with a great on-site stay, then they don't deserve to become your guest over the long term. So what are you doing on site to make guests really feel enamored with your hotel, so much so that they talk about you, they want to go back? Perhaps if they're there on leisure, you can't necessarily expect them to be back anytime in the same year because they're traveling different places. If it's corporate, what information can you glean off them to make sure that they switch over to a regular visitor? Within the context of the guests, converting somebody from a corporate into a leisure, all that stuff happens on site. And we can do a lot with pre-marketing, but it has to connect into the actual experience. And if you aren't able to do anything special and then communicate that in a very concise way, then your OTA guests will stay OTA guests, because we live in a world of options. So if a hotel isn't special, why return there when you have so many other places right next door that you can go and potentially discover a new place that is special? So I'm not sure if that answers the question in terms of pro cons. It depends on the hotel. I work at the 4 and 5-star level, and the whole point is to have the OTAs. You need the distribution, but then get them off of the OTAs so that way you can maintain your margins and grow from there.
Absolutely. And what an interesting point, because at the end, it all has to connect. So you can have such an amazing pre-stay experience with the best campaigns, but if they go to the hotel and the on-site experience, it's just not matching, then of course, there's no opportunity for loyalty there, because they're not
Yeah,
gonna...
the phrase we use here, it's for context, it's 8 a.m. here in North America. So the phrase we use in English over here is putting lipstick on a pig,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yes. Great. Thanks for pointing this out. And a really interesting point that I think we need to keep in mind as well. Make sure that your experience connects all the time. Now let's talk a little bit about the rhythm of communication. And this is a little bit of what we discussed at the beginning as well, regarding about the digital noise, regarding about what to send, what not to send. So there is the case when properties, they don't say anything at all, which at the end leads to oblivion. Right? No one's going to remember your name. And guests are not being satisfied. They're missing a lot of key information. And there's also the case where they send too many things, overwhelming guests, providing information they don't need, like leading to unsubscribes after like 2 days, basically, of making the booking. So, Adam, how would you say, or what can they do to find a balance for a good rhythm of communication?
Right. So to draw on a few points previously mentioned, of course, we live in an age of digital noise. I'm on one extreme where I'm a digital minimalist, even though, I work in technology. But the main word I want to pick out is something Maria said earlier, which is the word strategy. So boots on the ground, if you look at why hotels often send out a discounted promotion or some sort of 3 for 2, 2 for 1, four for three in order to increase LOS. It's oftentimes result because a revenue manager or whoever is looking at the pace report goes and sees an occupancy pocket, whether 3 months out, 2 months out, or a flash sale is within those 2 months. And you got to ask, why is that occupancy pocket happening? Why is pace falling behind? What was pace before? Are we improving? And the strategy has to align with that in terms of trying to limit those panic situations. And so from a strategic standpoint, I look at it and go, okay, well, it's better to value add than to discount. And by that, I mean, so for instance, you try and say, okay, we're going to do a 3-night offer with a $200 F&B credit, right? Or 200 euros. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. That's going to get a lot of throughput into your F&B as a loss leader. But we know a lot of the intangibles are going to be that the more somebody uses your on-site facilities, the more they are going to enjoy the on-site experience. Therefore, the higher the guest sentiment later on, the higher satisfaction, the more likely they are to talk about your hotel, the more likely they are to visit. So a lot of times, if somebody looks at it and goes, "Oh, I don't want to give away $200," that in a lot of sense is penny wise, pound foolish. And the reason why that may occur is, first off, they don't have the proper POS integrations to itemize a $200 voucher en masse to do it at scale. And then number two is they don't have the proper departmental integration from a commercial standpoint to properly incentivize the restaurant team to work synergistically with the hotel marketing team. So that is a commercial, cultural decision that needs to occur far and above, and that is strategy. So looking at it, and then how that relates to rhythm is that if you are unencumbered by the need to send out panicked emails, discounts, flash sales, everything, you can look at it and go, okay, so maybe our strategy is a quarterly release. And what are we going to put in that quarterly release? How are we going to personalize it according to what's new and what's exciting on the ground on our hotel? Restaurant is a great place to start because food is something we all do and enjoy, and it is a key part of the human experience, regardless of what those intermittent fasters will tell you. So do you have a seasonal menu? Is it something special? Have you aligned your photography so you have that one key shot? Have you aligned it with your POS data to know which of your past guests have dined at your restaurant so you can specifically target them, either with a general offer saying, hey, you dine with here off our regular menu, here's our set seasonal menu, try it out. Or you could say, oh, we've noticed that you had our seasonal menu during winter, our prefix menu. Well, here's our new summer one. Do you want to try it out? Or look ahead to winter and book your 1-year anniversary if you have that level of granularity within your data, which is all reliant on the CDP pulling it data into the CRM. So those are some very interesting things that can be done at scale now, but you have to look at it from a strategic, commercial, and cultural standpoint in order to get that engine rolling. And yes, from a rhythm standpoint, I would advise 1 email per quarter, unless you are a hotel like a casino on the Las Vegas Strip where you have 3,000 or 4,000 rooms to fill, in which case once per week is more than fine because there's so much happening at these casinos. Once a week is even on the light side. There's so much happening. And but there's my ramble.
Perfect, thanks. And once again, we can see the connection definitely between where do you store your data, because that's going to help you to actually identify these key opportunities. If you're going to talk about your restaurant, you first need to understand, like, really, how many people is actually eating at my restaurant? Like, are they consuming it or not? Like, if I have a spa, are all the packages that I'm offering getting, like, being sold or not? Like, do you prefer, there's one package that is more popular than another? And all of this goes back to data. So I think one key part of email marketing, for you to be able to enhance your communications, you need to look back at your data. So in our case, a bunch of our customers, they get this real overview because BookBoost has a CDP in our foundation as the foundation of the platform linked to our CRM. So they are able to get all this information and make strategic decisions with it. So perfect. And now let's talk about, yes, this is an email marketing webinar. However, not every message fits into an email. So this is one thing that we need to consider. Sometimes there are other channels that are better depending on what you're going to say. And Isabel, you work with customers that also use SMS and WhatsApp, all of them in the same CRM. What do you advise? What is your advice when choosing a channel? How to choose a channel?
Yeah, good one. First of all, this strategy is not a one fits all, never, right? If in nothing, I would say. And not every message belongs in an email. I also agree on that. When deciding which channel to use, I think it's important to consider a few factors like the urgency, the message length, your guest's preference, the market you are in or you are targeting. For urgent matters, like last minute deals or check-in reminders, definitely WhatsApp and SMS are effective because they have this real-time nature, right? And these channels also ensure that guests get this message quickly. I mean, nobody checks emails as much as they check WhatsApp and SMS, let's be honest. On the other hand, if you want to be more detailed, then like newsletters, personalized offers, that email, it keeps being the best channel, I would say. And then it's really considering as well the guest's preference. So some guests prefer receiving promotions via email, some others appreciate, the WhatsApp message. And connect this guest preference to where are your guests coming from. And this is really important. For example, in Norway, people tend to use more Facebook Messenger and the traditional SMS than WhatsApp. So if you are targeting Norwegian guests, you shouldn't be focusing on WhatsApp because you're gonna miss them. The same in the US, they use way more SMS in comparison, for example, with Spain and Germany, where WhatsApp, it's really like the preferred channel. It's really knowing your market, your guest's preference, and then don't go crazy on WhatsApp and SMS message. Don't send like a message like this. Then that will be for an email. So those few things, I think, make a good balance to actually choose the best channel.
Perfect, Isabel. Thank you. And we actually have a question. So Thomas is asking, how early should I start mailing for a certain campaign, like a midsummer campaign, for example? So midsummer is in June in Sweden. So do you guys have any advice? What would you say? Adam, I think you were raising your hand. Yes, go ahead.
So yes, the number one thing I'd say is, of course, it's something that General Eisenhower said, and I'm going to misquote here, but plans are useless. Planning is essential. So midsummer, we know it's coming up every year. Maybe you have plans that you can refurbish from last year and say, how can we be a little bit different? that could start in January, right? And then the offer you send out, you can have something ready, but you have to consider the context of the guest. So initially, my answer would be to this: send it out as early as possible. Everyone wants to see it, right? Like they're like me. I get stressed out if I have a trip coming up and I don't have my hotel rooms 3 months out. I get stressed, right? But not everyone is like me. Some people are going to be a little bit more whimsical, where, it's, I'll speak to a friend and he'll go, or I'll ask, you're traveling in 2 days to New York. Where are you staying? I don't know. I'm going to book a place. I'm going to look tonight, but it's 2 days away. So, there's people on both ends. And this is the amazing thing about data, is that now you can use A/B testing or multivariate testing to actually see which guests are like me and which guests are the more whimsical type, and then refine the timing of delivery based on that over time, year over year, as you learn more about your guests and develop that relationship within your CRM. But also you can then align that with the type of messaging. So if somebody's like me, they're probably going to want a detailed breakdown of, a list by list. This is the offer. Here's what it includes. So I can pull out my calculator and, do my own computation of how much value I'm getting. Versus other one would be more whimsical, saying, hey, we have some openings 7 days from now. I see you haven't booked. Let's come on down. Midsummer's right around here. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good party. Let's do it. So, you can do those amazing things, but it all relies on the data connections. And then from there, putting some form of A/B testing behind it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And we go back to data again. So I think that's the main, instead of email marketing, we're going to talk about, okay, how to use data for your email. Maria.
Yeah, I just want to add something about what Adam said, because, I'm Spanish and I live in Germany. So there's a huge difference between us. Germans are very structured, and in January, they already book everything for summer. So
Yeah.
this is one of the things when I work with clients, they always say like, but we have to remember, the Germans. Yes, it's true. Like Germans, generally speaking, they book in January for the whole year. And we have no more holidays than you guys, but we have like separated. So we have 6 school holidays in summer. And then we have the, in autumn, we also have some 2 weeks. So imagine they have to book, and then Christmas. So there are several times where Germans have to book, and they're so structured that they would do it in January, more or less January, February, at, maximum. However, in Spanish, we wait last minute. It doesn't matter. There are plenty of hotels, If it's not one, it's going to be the other. But yes, it's true. I mean, you have to look at the numbers. And numbers include nationalities and all your segmentation. So look at the data. Data will tell you when.
Perfect. Thank you for adding. And I have one last question that I've seen many of your posts, Maria, talking about how hoteliers can create messages that are a bit more creative. Yes, like don't say the same things that everyone said, right? Like stop saying just like, yeah, promo for discount, like discount for vacation or something like that. And one of your examples was actually what would get more your attention? Like, yes, vacations in the Caribbean or vacations 5,000 kilometers away from your mother-in-law or something like that.
Yes.
So what would be your advice, like for hoteliers to get a little bit more creative or just take a bit more risks on their messages? Is it worth it or not? What would you say? What would be your take on this?
Well, there is something that people forget. We love stories. We love anecdotes. So use them. We all worked at hotels, and we know that not every day is the same. In fact, every day is different when you work in a hotel. So you can collect thousands of stories and anecdotes, and all of them you can use in your email. And you can really create very nice emails and newsletters that grab people's attention. So use them. And then that comes with my always repeated phrase, which is do not copy anyone. Do not copy anyone. You're unique. You have unique stories to tell. So use the stories to sell, because stories sell. I mean, and we love stories. So it's more simple than what it sounds, really.
Perfect. Great. Well, I just want to thank you for joining us on this webinar. And if you guys have any more questions about how to do email marketing, how to use your data, and how to fit everything into a tool that is good for you, go check on our website, bookboost.io, about our CRM and our CDP and how we can help you with email marketing. Thank you for joining us. It was great to hear you guys and all the advice. And thank you, everyone that attended this session.
Thank you so much.